Morning, good morning. How are you all? I'll just give you a couple of minutes to come on, and we're crossing every finger, or just one finger. We're crossing our fingers that the sound is better today. Please let it be better today. I've got some lovely big shawls to show you. So let's hope you can jump on. I can't see any of you yet, but I'm just going to give it just a minute. Here you come. Give me a hello in the chat and let me know how the sound's going. We have a new setup, so we'll see how that goes. I've got a frog in my throat today. Alrighty, where are you? Let me have a look. Morena, Libby, how are you? Good morning, Stephanie. Nice to see you too. Hello, hello. Good, sound is fine. Awesome. We'll just bust into it. Mr. Myrtle's hovering around in case I need a hand. So he's going to just hover. Listen to me talk. Great sound. Awesome. I have new things. I have new equipment. So I'm hoping that the new equipment is good. Yay, the sound is good. Sound is good. This is great. Oh, you're back in Oz already, Becky, and missing your grandchildren. Oh, I bet you are. Oh, that felt like such a flying trip. It's a bit cool in Kimberton. Hey, Tamsin and Rangiora. Lovely to see you today. Okay, so we've been talking about shawls the last couple of weeks, haven't we? We've talked about, I can't even remember all the shawls I've showed you. However, we have been talking about shawls, and this, because we're having our big shawl knit along over in the Truly Myrtle hangout on Facebook. So please come and join us if you want to. It's really fun. Some people are knitting single skein shawls. Some people are diving into bigger shawls. It's just, there's such lovely palette cleanser shawls just to grab something. Yay, it's great. The sound is good. Sound is good so far, Mr. Myrtle. It's just the computer. I've got a computer that actually works. This is amazing. I think I've had to upgrade. Anyway, so we've got all these different options for shawls, colors and fibers and sizes and shapes and interesting constructions and techniques inside them and all sorts of things like that. So this week I've showed you small shawls and I've showed you some of the 2 skein ones and thinking about different colors and different fibers. But I thought this week I'll show you some bigger shawls, because when shawls first came out of about 12, I don't know, how long ago did shawls hit the knitting world? About 10 or 12 years ago, I'd say 10 years ago. And at first they were tiny. I think one of the first shawls I ever remember seeing was Ysolda Teague's shawl. Does anyone remember the name of it? I can't remember. It was quite a lacy shawl. I believe it was a little triangular shawl, and it was quite small. And it was sort of different, because I think prior to that we'd always thought of shawls as these sort of peasant-like big, this was before Outlander, remember, guys? So we'd always sort of shawls were always just grandmas, weren't they? I'd never even considered wearing a shawl. I wasn't even wearing little wraps and things around my neck, but then the shawls sort of started, and for a wee while there they were quite small. And then do you remember that, I think probably when the shawls really went big, I think it was probably Andrea Mowry with her that fade shawl. Do you remember that? And all of a sudden shawls went big, and I can't actually remember how many skeins she had in that. Was it 5 or was it only 3? I think it was quite a few skeins. And all of a sudden you were knitting a garment's worth of yarn into a shawl, and that was I found that a little confronting, because it's quite expensive and it's only a shawl. I think it took me a while to kind of embrace the whole big shawl thing. But then once I made one, I think the first one I made, and I may have already showed you this one. Oh, I didn't even bring it over because I thought I did show you it. The first big shawl I made, I think, was Flindra. It was really big, and it was that cream and blue one with the little slip stitches on it. I've got another one here which is similar, which is Zabadoo. 7 skeins. It was 7 skeins, yeah. 7 skeins of fingering. That was enormous, right? That's quite a commitment. Oh God, the sound is wonderful. Excellent. Let's just hope we've fixed it with new equipment. I've got a microphone. I've got a new microphone. I'm not even going to touch it because it's quite big, and I've got a new computer because, mine was so jolly old. Okay, so I did this one, Zabadoo. So this one was this is about as big as I've got, and I used a DK because I just thought go big, and I went chunkier as well. So I think this one uses about 3 or 4 skeins of maybe even 5. Actually, I should have checked before I got on. Zabadoo. And I love this shawl. So this one is not the original. The original is actually with Loop in London, because I did it with Loop, the yarn shop. And I did this lovely uncommon thread, like a really coppery colour and a sort of a blue colour, aquary blue colour. But I've had it reknitted in Happy Go Knitty yarn, and it's this lovely green and sort of taupey colour. That I love this one, and I've got tassels on the end of it, because I love a tassel. So I've got tassels on 2 of the ends, not on the point in the middle. And I just love wearing this one all wrapped up, because when it's cold and you need something really cozy to wear, there's nothing like a big shawl. This one has got silk in it, this yarn. My original didn't. So it's got really nice drape and sheen to it, and it ends up being a bit sort of longer and skinnier. Now, if I just rearrange myself a little bit. But I love this big shawl. It's just cozy and big, and the color, if you get the colors right, the colors that you love. Could even tuck my knot under, couldn't I, really? I'll rearrange myself a wee bit. Just have to get it so you feel a little bit more stylish when you're wearing it over your shoulder. But I think these bigger shawls, they can be more of a statement. You can really make a bit of a thing with them in your outfit. Ysolda's Ishbel. That's right. Thank you, Trishka. That's exactly what it was. Ysolda's Ishbel. That was the one I think that started it all. That pretty lace, and it was just a little triangle. Now this one is like a few that I've done now, which is knitted from side to side, and this is one of the ones. This is actually a similar shape. I loved the shape of that one that Andrea Mowry did for her fade. I loved the shape of it, and it was such an interesting one for me to work out with a pattern in it. So I did that for this. The same sort of idea. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but it's the same sort of idea. So you start in the corner and then you work your way up, and I use the slip stitch pattern, and it took me quite a lot of wrangling with the maths to make it all fit perfectly into the pattern. So I wrangled and I made it work, and then it's got this pattern that comes up. So you go up for a certain distance, and then you sort of change direction at the top. Yeah, it is. I love this one. It's a really pretty shawl. So, and it's just like a cross between being cozy and putting on a gorgeous blanket, and dressing up and feeling a bit special dressing up. So some of the other ones I did, this is another one, which I think is actually quite a good option for a smaller amount of yarn. My daughter pinches this one quite often. And this one is Silver Stream, and I used Maniatoto yarn for this one. So I don't know, Maniatoto's changed hands. I had the new owner from Maniatoto on the podcast a couple of years ago, and she's lovely. And it's changed hands, and I'm not sure if she's still doing this yarn. Mary started the brand, started the yarn company. I've spoken to Mary too. You can hear her on my podcast. She's fabulous. But anyway, I use Maniatoto for that. And this is an Aran weight yarn. And I did one of those triangles that scoops up on the side. I like the shape of these triangles. So they sort of have a bit of it. See how it scoops up? I like that. And then it has this broken rib stitch through the body, which is actually quite good on both sides. And then it moves into the lace. So it's nice and simple. Now, if you wanted to do different colors in it, you could do different colors in it. My daughter wears it like this, and she has it all scooched up around her neck, and it's cozy and it's warm and it's woolly, but it's not like crazy long. It's not a long big shawl, but it's got enough bulk to it so that you are actually really warm, and it's a little bit of a statement that you're wearing when you're putting this one on. So this is Silver Stream. This is fun. It's really nice looking back at some of these old shawls, actually. I really enjoy it because I do tend to grab the same ones often. I grab the same ones. Like yesterday, I had to go out and I had a bit of a cold neck. So I grabbed my Medley shawl, which is a fingering shawl. I often will grab Medley. That's a really easy one for me to wear. And it's a long 3-skein shawl. I think I've already showed you that one on here recently. I think I might have done it on the first one. But anyway, this one is Silver Stream. So it's a nice triangular shawl with that lovely scoop. So you can see just the different shapes add something to it, and it's quite a dense sort of knit. Even though I knitted it on bigger needles, the yarn itself is still not too open and airy, so that it's more jumper like. It's more of a jumper like feel to it. I mean, the broken rib gives you quite a lot of denseness in there. Let's see if you've got any comments there. Yeah, Zabadoo. Yeah, it's lovely to wear. I like wearing that one. 24 degrees in Adelaide today. Whoa, you're going to be cold. Good, the sound is fantastic. Yay, look, we might have just fixed it. We might have just fixed it. That is awesome. Okay, so here's one I put out that is also, it's in the class of bigger shawls. This is one that is out for everybody now. It was originally a wardrobe toolbox shawl, and this is quite a good one to try, actually. The reason I use it in wardrobe toolbox is because we did a whole lot of lessons around lace knitting. And for those of you in Wardrobe Toolbox, we sort of pull them together in bundles now so you can find them all. I'm just going to go back to Susan's questions because she's just fired it up there, and it's about Silverstream. Would it work knitting Silverstream and fingering weight for those of us who can't have too much warmth around the neck in Auckland? Yes, it definitely would. Now, what you might want to do though, Susan, is gauge it as you go, because obviously when you knit it in fingering, your needles will be a bit smaller. So I'd still use like a 4mm needle for your fingering yarn, but gauge it because it won't be as big because all your stitches are going to be smaller. I don't think you could use a slightly bigger needle if you wanted it to be airier. So it could be quite airy, like I go to a 4.5mm, or that's about a 7, US 7. But I would, once you get to the point where you're going to add the lace, it's the wrong side, I would just decide, is this big enough for me? Because you're not going to add a heck of a lot of length to the ends once you're doing that border. So you could do more in the body. All you need to do is go back to the pattern and see this little lace repeat is not over too many stitches. You just need to know that when you get to the lace repeat, it's going to fit in. So what you could do is you could work out the next multiple of repeat if you just add one more repeat in, because it's going to be on both sides. Just add a repeat in on both sides and take it to the next multiple that works with your whatever I've done here. So add another 13 or whatever the stitch number is, so that it will just fit nicely into what I've got here for the pattern. So you just add a repeat to each. Does that make sense? So you know that let's pretend you need 200 stitches made up of 10s. Okay, keep adding 10 until you get to a number that works with the body and the bottom, and it just adds in enough repeats that you need, and then you can. It just will be less problematic for you to make the lace fit if you can actually just slot in the existing pattern into the number you end up with. I think I might have overcomplicated that answer. I'm not sure. Queenie is on my list of ones to make. Look, I'm getting hot now. Queenie's on my list of ones to make. I've had the yarn and some homespun that Mum gave me for the edge. Oh, that's going to be absolutely lovely. I've just finished my Bejeweled, but I haven't had time to block here yet. I really don't have time to work full time. I was just saying this morning, actually, I really need, so I need a wife. That's what I need. I need myself the way I used to be at home looking after everybody. I need that now. I really do need that. Rebecca says, I love my Queenie, and I was wearing it down the local pub, and an old bushy. Oh, I love that, Rebecca. I'm going to show you. Oh, God, you don't understand, Susan. I'm going to show you why that amuses me, that Rebecca's wearing this with her old bushy shirt and her Queenie down at the pub. Because Queenie, like, she's a Queenie, right? She's quite beautiful shawl. So that's the right side here. So the reason we did it in Wardrobe Toolbox is because we did lessons around lace, and we did lessons around fixing lace. And so it was fun to have a go, learn how, and have a go at really doing some surgery on our lace. And quite a lot of people have tried it since we did it, and it's just been, their minds have been blown with how we can actually do it, how we can it's like surgery. You unpick and then you re-knit just a section of your lace where you might have gone wrong. It's good practice anyway. We talked about yarn overs, and we talked about ripping back and lifelines and all that sort of stuff. So there was a reason behind my madness when I designed this one. So this one is also DK. So Queenie uses a DK, and I'm just struggling to remember. I've got some more of her yarn up here. There, I can point to it. Remind me whose yarn it is for the body. It's a beautiful DK. It's got lots of interesting colours through it. It's a Corriedale yarn. And then, oh, why has it just escaped my mind? Anyway, you guys can tell me, right? And then I used, because it's jolly interesting, I used a Rowan mohair, just a single strand of mohair. Can you see? it just becomes translucent. That mohair there, so much fun to be mixing and matching. I know, Christy, that actually came into my head this morning. Love big shawls, and I cannot lie. And then this is where Amanda's saying her mum has some homespun that she's going to use. I used Spin Cycle yarn in here, but you can easily sub it in for homespun through here. Now you can mix and match with weights a little bit. The homespun is slightly heavier than the DK, but look, by the time you're getting down here, you're not bothered, right? It's close enough to be good. And the mohair is just beautiful in it. Now, if you don't have mohair, you could just use a fingering in there. You could use another DK in there. It's totally up to you what you put in. But I love, see how it's just so beautifully translucent through those mohair sections, and that I love the tonal color, but you could have a splash of color. You can make this work for you. So she's a beautiful big triangular shawl. Again, she has that scoop at the top. I really like that shape. I think it's a really easy shape to wear, and I often just wear her like this, and then you can see her beautiful lace down the front. But I mean, you also can wear her. These are good ones to just throw around your shoulders. And I have to say, if we're going to go like back into this style of wearing shawls where you throw them around your shoulders, we do it boldly. We embrace it. And we might use a thing to tie it up, or we might scooch it up and put it in a big cuff or something on our shoulder. But we do it boldly. And we put our shoulders back and we say, yeah, I'm going to wear a shawl like this. That's what we say. Brilliant. Here we are. Wendy's reminding me. It's 2 skeins. Oh, it's Dye Happy, of course. Gosh, I feel bad. 2 skeins of Dye Happy yarn, Patience DK. So that's 100% Corriedale. And it was a one-off colorway, it was. But I'm sure if you like this color, you could just tell her. I'm sure she'd do it again. Oh, Ruth, you gave away your first Queenie. You need one for yourself. You definitely do. Chrissy says, even though she wrote the song about loving big shawls, I'm not as big a fan of shawls, but as me. Libby, somehow you make me want to make and love shawls more. Look, they're just fun. I think it's just fun. They're just really, really fun, throwing yourself into these things and pushing yourself a little bit into something interesting. And we had a really cool masterclass yesterday over in Wardrobe Toolbox, and our guest talked about if you were wearing the clothes you really wanted to wear, what would that look like? And why aren't you wearing them? And I feel like this is a little step towards that, because you can try things and experiment and push yourself a little bit. This is a good way. These sort of shawls, this sort of knitting pushes ourselves a little bit into a direction that maybe we want to go to, but we're just not 100% about it. Like, for example, if you are wanting to wear bolder colors, you could start on a shawl. You could start with something that you just throw on and you can take off if it's feeling a bit much. And I know it all sounds a bit crazy, but actually, it's real, right? The way we present ourselves, and the more we do it, the more we embrace what we love, and we do things that make us, feel the fear and do it anyway. And the more we feel like ourselves, the easier it gets. It really does get easy. Maybe not easy, but easier. Becky says, I've made 2 Queenies. I love them both. One in luxury yarns and the other in plain DK. Oh, yeah, that would be lovely, right? Amanda says, oh, my God, so good. I discovered I need to wear more around my shoulders. Yes, well, I'm getting a really cold neck as I get older. I really need, like if I was to go out today in this jumper, I'm going to have to throw something around my neck just to warm me up, because I just like having a warm neck now. I don't know if that's age or habit now. I'm not sure, but yes, Rebecca has just said it exactly. She said, I never wore shawls before Wardrobe Toolbox, but now I feel like I need to knit more shawls because I feel a bit naked going out without one. Exactly. It's like earrings for me and things like that. I just feel like, oh, I need to like finish myself off. Maybe it's like some sort of protection. I don't know. Is it that? Okay, so I've got 3 more to show you. Now this one, I think I would like to knit this one again in a different colours. I think it would be a really beautiful one to have a total play with colour in this shawl. Now, you could incorporate lots of colours, or you could just use the same couple of colours, or you could go for one interesting colour. I think there are lots of options with this shawl. This is Rillsdale. See the difference? She's got a flat top. She doesn't scoop up. I mean, you can scoop her up, but her top is flatter. than the others. She's a lovely simple knit, and she is massive. She's a massive shawl, quite a different look, and her length is added to with these fabulously long fringe. The fringe is just, oh, ecstasy. I think I love the fringe. So you can just have a look at her and just think how, you can really play around with this whole look. Now, it can be quite boho if you want. It can be sort of quite a wild sort of a goddess-like look, if that's the look you like. I actually love wearing this shawl around my neck, just hanging down. I love wearing her like that because she's so big and she sort of takes the place of a light cardigan, right? Oh, it is Maycroft. Yeah, what did I say it was called? I've forgotten what I said it was called, but it is. It's Maycroft. This is when I run into trouble because there's too many shawl children. I run out. It's like I do with my children. It's like and I give them all the wrong names. I always do that. Okay, let's have a look. I've got a basket of my hand knitted shawls at my door that people now help themselves to when we're sitting outside. Oh, that is so nice. It is such a compliment to my hard work, and I love seeing our friends wearing them. That is a fabulous idea. Like, people have slippers for people when they come to their homes, but imagine having a rack or a basket of shawls. You could say, oh, we're just going to go and sit outside by the fire pit, or let's go and enjoy the barbecue, or sit on the porch, grab a shawl. No one will get cold. It's better than your crusty old, what are they called? Those microfiber. Here's a crusty old microfiber sweatshirt. It's not the same, is it? It's not quite the same vibe. If you give them just a beautiful, here we are, just toss this piece of magnificent beauty around your neck and feel really good. And here's a drink in your hand and let's go and have a chat. What a nice thing to do. I think the word shawl gives shawls a bad rap. Maybe we need to rename them. Yeah, I always have thoughts about this when it comes to words and how they get sort of contaminated over the years. I have definitely through my life attempted in my own way to bring a new vibe into words. And I think shawl might be one of those. We could let's just reclaim it and say, actually, no, actually shawls are pretty cool. Shawls are actually really good. And we're going to bring a new vibe into them. Now, it might be that I'm not young anymore, so I don't care. But I think we can reinvigorate the word that it has. I quite like that. Yeah, it's great with tassels. Did I call it Real-Star? Yeah, it's not Real-Star, is it? It's Baycroft. They're kind of similar, right, though? Okay, so this one is lovely. And the tassels, I think I used nearly a whole ball of yarn to make those tassels. So you can have real fun with it and throw them. Which shawl is that again? It's Maycroft. I got the name wrong. It's Maycroft. But she goes up over your shoulder. This one I did, and it is a beautiful feminine word, shawl. I think we should take it back again, right? I have definitely done that over the years with various things. Okay, so I knitted this one with absolutely buttery soft, stunning. She is so soft and cuddly. Fingering weight Polworth yarn from Australia, Tandy, Australian Polworth. Stunning yarn, absolutely beautiful. And this was yarn that was dyed by a dyer who's, I don't think she's dyeing anymore, is she? Bryony, and I can't remember what her brand was called, but Bryony dyed the yarn. So this is the natural colour, and then it had the blue. And at the same time, I did Piper, that cardigan Piper, and that lovely kind of persimmon colour. Beautiful yarn. So it's very, very soft. You could go for very soft. You could also go for quite silky. The difference would be quite lovely. If you went for like a woolen spun, this is actually very light. But if you went for a woolen spun, it would be incredibly light, and it would give you even more of a muted sort of back in the hundreds of years feel. It really would take you back in time with something like that. But I do love the softness of this one. It's lovely. Okay, I've got two more here. So this one is massive. So if you do want to have a bash at a massive shawl, but not just massive, if you want a bash at a massive shawl that also uses a really interesting construction, I loved making this one. This was a real brain stretch for me. So I'd seen shawls that were knitted, and I had knitted shawls that was started at one end, and see how one end is like this. This is a long rectangular shawl. And then you work, the way you work the increases and the decreases and whatnot, it creates these like tails, okay? So I'd done Electra, which is like an arrow. So I'd started at one end, like a tail, worked my way up. So the top was like that. And then had I done any where it started in the middle and gone out? I don't remember if I had. I'd done some that on an angle at one end, and then they're an angle at the other end. Is anyone else frozen? Oh, I hope I'm not frozen. Am I frozen? Frozen. I'm frozen. Okay, let's just tell Mr. Myrtle. Frozen. Okay, am I still frozen? Oh, let's just hope it comes back now. Let's see. No frozen. Okay, am I back? Frozen, frozen, not frozen. I'll give you a couple of minutes to work out whether I'm frozen or not. Not frozen. Try refreshing. I can't try refreshing because I'm terrified of touching anything. Okay, it has frozen for some of you. Try refreshing if it's frozen. Okay, mine froze and reloaded and it worked. Oh, I don't know what happened then. That's odd. Nope, I'm fine. Okay, so refresh and it worked, not frozen for me. All right, we're just going to keep plowing on. Brilliant. Okay, it's not frozen on YouTube. Oh, maybe, okay, all right, I don't know. I'm just going to ignore all that and hopefully you'll be all good. Okay, so this one, though, I'd seen other shawls that, they did different things. And I thought, oh, I reckon there's a way of doing this shawl. I think some other shawls I'd seen started at the ends because, you can make these ends. And they started at both ends and then they came and joined it in the middle. And I thought, I reckon there's a way of starting in the middle and going out. And so that was my little challenge for myself. So it was an exercise in it was brain activity on my part to make it work. But what I did was, look, I'll show you the center. That is the center of the shawl. And then it goes out on both ends the same. Okay. So we have a couple of things going on here, which I will point out to you. We have a lot of symmetry. We have the sizing. Oh, look, we've managed to get our stripes and our sizing. It all matches. It all works. So there's, it actually is a beautiful symmetry happening in this shawl. I'd like to study your yarn colors. Yeah, I'll tell you about that. One day we'll do a big yarn dive into my stash. So what I did was, look, I'll tell you really quickly. We make a little triangle on one side. There's the first triangle. We knit it like a traditional triangular shawl. We start at the top and we knit that much of our triangle. And then we knit some of our mohair. This is mohair held with the silk merino that I've used up here. Yak silk merino. This is Happy Go Knitty yarn. Beautiful. So I did one side, then I did the other side. Okay, you just leave one side hanging on a holder and then you do the other side. And then you have all these live stitches. So we've got live stitches. It's so big, it's hard to show you. But we've got live stitches like this and like that. And then what we do is we pick them up along there and along there, and we join the two sides together and we knit that way. And then we come back when we've done that and we pick them up along there and along there, and then we knit that way, like that. So it all seems, it all comes beautifully together. Now, it isn't like a beginner shawl. It's definitely not. I'm just going to tell Miss Middle. No, it seems okay now. Some of them were frozen. I don't know. Might have been Facebook, right? So it isn't. It's not a beginner shawl. There's a little bit of a stitch in here that you just have to get used to, and so that's quite an interesting texture going on through here. And then we pick up all these stitches and we do them in a funny way, and we go off in better. We go off in different directions, but the result is absolutely fantastic. It's one of those shawls that gets a lot of comments. It's very, very big. It's a very big shawl. So I love it. Now, if you don't use the yak silk and things that I used, yours might not grow the same. Look at the stretch in it. It's got so much stretch in it. But you can throw her around you. And I love the way she's got these bits for your shoulders. But you throw her around. She is just drama on steroids, this shawl. So she's Drama Queen. That's the name of it, Drama Queen. So it's a fun one if you want to try something that is, it's just fun to knit. It's like that one I showed you the other day with the scalloped bottom. It's just really fun to knit. So Drama Queen is a good one to have a go at. And then the last one I'm going to show you is one that I particularly love. I love this shawl, and I know lots of you have knitted this shawl and you love her too. And this is Flux. And I knitted this for the Pacifico collection I did with Marie Green a few years ago. Well, it must be quite a few years ago now, actually. And I knitted it with Julie Asselin's yarn. It's a beautiful woolen spun, fabulous tweedy yarn. It's quite woolly. It's quite mottled in colour. It's a really reasonably dense sort of knit. And it's a triangle in the end. See the triangle? It's got this great reversible pattern on it. And it's got buttons at the top edges that you put on last. And then the bottom edge is all buttonholes. This border that you put on, and I called buttonhole border, the whole thing, the whole way round, can you see the buttonholes? All the way around. So it serves two purposes. It just creates that lovely border. Look, it's really big. And it also has buttonholes. So I've used quite big buttons to go in my buttonholes, but you can experiment with the size of your buttonholes. That's something else we did over in Wardrobe Toolbox. We looked at this particular border with the buttonholes. You can make it smaller, you can make it bigger. It's up to you. Someone said I made my Flux in Skeins Kelly & Co. I've got some Kelly & Co. there, right behind me here. This is beautiful yarn. And it actually would be a perfect match. It would be perfect, this one. See how beautifully tweedy it is? It's really lovely. So it's a woolen spun, same sort of tweediness. But this is Julie Asselin. She's a Canadian dye, lovely dye. So you knit it from one corner and you knit up. And so your last row is this very long row at the top. And then you finish with an I-cord border that then turns the corner. So you actually pick up stitches and you turn the corner. There's not really any binding off per se. You bind it off with your button band and you pick it up and you knit all the way down. The instructions obviously are like step you through it, so it's not tricky. It's not a first time shawl knit, but it's not tricky. You will be able to do it. Like to make it in a lighter weight yarn, you definitely can. It will just be smaller, but again, you could knit more and then you can fudge the end. You can make it work for you at the end. Obviously, I've thought about the maths with this one in terms of making my buttonholes the same size, but there's no reason why you couldn't do that yourself. Once you read it and you realize how I do it, you see what I've done, you can do it yourself. Okay, so I put this one on like this, and then I grab the buttonholes on the corners and I button her up. And this is a really good one when you just want to stay warm and you don't want it to fall off and you don't want to be constantly readjusting things. And there's really no right place to put your buttons. You just put them where they come. So you stick your buttonholes in like this, like so. And then, here we go, that'll do. Got buttons, I've got some done up, some not done up. And then she stays on. She's on my neck then, and she turns into more of a poncho. So this one is fun. I like it. I really like this shawl. She's worked out really, really well. So it is fun making these shawls up, I have to say. I get a great deal of pleasure out of it. But yes, so there we are. She's got buttons that go down the back. She's got buttons at the front. So you think about the things you could do. You could have real fun with your yarn. It could be quite a bold yarn if you want. But you could also really experiment with your buttons and make those a real pop or have them fade into the garment as well. So there's lots of ways that you make it yours, I think, with this shawl. So fun and games. So that kind of wraps up our trifecta of podcasts on shawls. And next week I've got a jumper to show you. I've got you a new sweater coming out next week. And it's a sport weight sweater in my Truly Myrtle yarn, which I'm in love with it. I'm completely in love with it. So I'm looking forward to showing it to you next week. But yes, at the moment, we're still finishing our shawl knit along and over in the Truly Myrtle Hangout on Facebook. So if you want to come and join, you're more than welcome. We're going all the way through October and just getting some shawls made. And for some of you, that might mean a bit of gift knitting for Christmas. Be really nice. Some of those, especially those especially the smaller shawls, really nice little gifts for Christmas. I love knitting shawls. It's so nice not to have to worry about gauge and fit. It's just pure pleasure, pure pleasure. And you get to, if you look around, all the colors and all the different fibers, and there is no box you need to fit into. You do it your way. Experiment, have fun. You put interesting things together, like I did with Queenie. You could think about it. I do like approaching shawls as a whole. So I, rather than kind of banging in colors or banging patterns together, I do like to approach them as a work of art, as an entirety. So like for something like Drama Queen, when I talked about having this uniform sizing and this symmetry, I see it as a whole. The same as Queenie with this one. You know, I think of her in her entirety. And I think that's, for me, that's a nice way to do it, because I want a piece that's quite cohesive at the end. I want her to look like she's just not rammed together with bits out of my yarn stash. I want her to look like she's a work of art. That's what I want her to look like. And we think of her as a whole. And so I think you can have real fun approaching it like that, laying yarn out in front of you, seeing what goes together, rather than seeing it as little pieces of a part. Seeing the whole, pieces of a whole, see the whole, and then work out how your pieces slot in to pull it all together. You know, you might have a little pop of something that's just a fleck in here. I mean, you guys already know all that. You already do that, I'm sure. But yeah, it's a very relaxing. It can be a very relaxing, very, very creative entry into knitting, that's for sure, and knitting for yourself. Okay, everybody, I am going to love and leave you. I will see you next week. I'm so glad that the sound appears to be better. Cross our fingers that it will happen again next week. It might have been that all my all my bits and pieces were just dead. They were just electronically over, but now we have new bits and pieces, so fingers crossed we're sorted now. I need to make one with all the bits out of my yarn stash. So I actually have a plan for a Christmas shawl, which I'm always crossing my fingers, but I'm just hoping I get to do it. But I do want to have this idea that we do dive into our stash, and we do stash dive, and we do it in a way that comes together beautifully into one thing. So if you can hang on, I might have something for you. Brilliant. Sound and picture perfect. Brilliant. Okay, everybody, have a fabulous week. I'll catch you next week. Don't forget, I've got a jumper coming for you next week. So, oh, that'll be fun. It's always fun to bring you a new sweater. And I will see you very soon. See you later. Bye, everybody.